Hello and welcome to English Audio Stories. This is your place to relax and enjoy learning English through simple stories. In every video, you'll hear clear English that helps you grow your vocabulary and listening skills. So take a deep breath, listen carefully, and enjoy the story. An unexpected guest. It was a quiet Thursday evening. Emma was sitting in her small kitchen, reading a book and drinking hot tea. The house was warm, and outside it was raining. The sound of the rain on the windows made everything feel calm. Emma lived alone in a little house near the forest. It wasn't far from town, but it felt like a different world. There were no cars, no noise. Only trees, birds, and sometimes deer walking through her garden. She looked at the clock. It was 7:42 p.m. Dinner was finished, and the kitchen was clean. She smiled, happy to enjoy a peaceful evening. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. Emma froze. She wasn't expecting anyone. She never had visitors this late. For a few seconds, she didn't move. Then slowly, she stood up and walked to the door. "Who is it?" she asked. No answer. She opened the door a little. A man was standing outside. He was wet from the rain, and he looked tired. "I'm sorry," he said. "My car broke down. Can I use your phone?" Emma looked at him carefully. He didn't look dangerous, but she was still unsure. "Wait here," she said. She closed the door and took her phone from the table. Then she opened the door again and gave it to him. "Thank you," the man said quietly. He stepped back and started calling someone. Emma watched him from the doorway. Something about him felt strange, but she couldn't say why. Emma stayed in the doorway, watching the man. He stood under the small roof near the door, talking on her phone. She couldn't hear the words, only his low voice. After a minute, he gave the phone back. "Thank you," he said. "I called my friend. He will come in about 30 minutes. Emma nodded but said nothing. The rain was still falling. The man looked cold. "You can wait outside," she said. "There's a bench by the wall." "That's fine," the man replied. "I don't want to cause trouble." Emma closed the door gently. Back in the kitchen, she tried to continue reading her book, but she couldn't focus. Her eyes moved across the page, but her mind was somewhere else. Who was he? Why was he driving near the forest during heavy rain? And why did he seem so calm? She got up and looked through the small window next to the door. The man was sitting on the bench, looking down at the ground. He wasn't moving much, just sitting, waiting. Emma felt a little guilty. Maybe he was just a normal man in a bad situation, but something still felt wrong. She walked back to the kitchen and made another cup of tea. She poured some hot water into a second cup and added sugar. After a short pause, she opened the door again. "Would you like some tea while you wait?" she asked. The man looked surprised. Then he smiled. "That's very kind of you." "Yes, please." Emma handed him the cup and returned inside. She didn't invite him in, but she didn't close the door fully either. She stood by the table holding her tea, trying to understand the strange feeling in her chest. Something didn't make sense. Emma stood quietly in the kitchen. Through the half-open door, she could see the man holding the cup of tea. He took small sips and looked around the garden. The rain was lighter now, but the sky was still dark. Emma walked back to the door. "Did your car stop far from here?" she asked. The man nodded. About 1 kilometer down the road, just past the old gas station. She raised her eyebrows. That station closed 2 years ago. Yes, the man said. But there's still space to stop a car there. I was driving to see a friend. Then the engine stopped. Emma tried to smile. That's unlucky. Bad weather, no phone. Not a good evening. The man looked at her. His eyes were calm but deep. Yes, not a good evening. But your tea helps. Emma didn't know what to say. She felt a strange tension in the air. Polite words, but something unspoken behind them. She turned to go back inside. Wait, the man said. What's your name? Emma, she replied. He smiled again. Nice to meet you, Emma. I'm Daniel. She nodded. I hope your friend arrives soon. I'm sure he will, Daniel said, looking at the road. Emma went back inside and sat at the table. She looked at her book, but didn't open it. Her thoughts were full of questions. How did he know about the road if he wasn't from here? Why was he driving through the forest at night? And why did his voice sound familiar? She had never seen this man before. Or had she? Emma sat still for a long time. Her tea was cold now. She didn't even notice. Her eyes were on the window, but her mind was far away. Daniel. That name. That face. She tried to remember. 10, maybe 12 years ago, she had lived in another town. It was a busy time, with work, studies, and many new people. And then she remembered. There was a boy in her university class. Quiet, serious, always sitting at the back. His name was Daniel. They had spoken only a few times. Once he had helped her carry books. Once they had waited at the same bus stop. And then, nothing. He stopped coming to class. No one knew why. Emma stood up and went to the hallway. She opened a small drawer and found an old photo album. Inside were pictures from her university days. Friends, trips, birthdays. On the second page, there he was. Same eyes. Same serious face. It was him. She walked back to the door and looked outside. Daniel was no longer sitting on the bench. The cup of tea was on the ground, empty. Emma stepped outside and looked around. Daniel, she called. No answer. She looked down the road but saw no car, no lights, no one. She walked a few meters, listening to the night. Still nothing. Then she looked at the teacup again. A small piece of paper was under it. She picked it up. 3 words were written on it. Thank you, Emma. Emma stood in the doorway, holding the small note in her hand. The words were simple, but her mind was full of questions. How did he know her name before she told him? Why didn't he say anything when he saw the photo? Why did he leave so suddenly? She sat down on the bench where he had been. The cup was cold. The night was quiet again. Only the soft rain touched the ground. Maybe he just needed a place to stop. Maybe the past didn't mean anything to him. But still, he remembered her. That much was clear. Back inside, Emma placed the note on the table and turned off the kitchen light. She didn't feel scared. In fact, she felt calm. Some people come into our lives for only a moment, she thought. But they can still leave something behind. Before going to bed, she opened the photo album again and looked at his picture. She smiled. Goodbye, Daniel, she whispered. That night, she slept better than she had in weeks. The next morning, the sky was clear. Sunlight came through the trees and into the kitchen window. Emma made tea and opened a new book. The forest was quiet again. Life moved on, but a small part of her still listened. just in case someone knocked on her door again. Great job! You listened to the whole story in English. The more you listen, the better you get. So keep going and come back for more. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.